What's up guys, it's your boy Ollie here, and today I'm going to show y'all how to make a t-shirt out of some scrap fabric. Whether it's from a different t-shirt that you already have that you really like, or just some fabric that you find laying around the house. Maybe you bought one that you really like the way it looks. I'm going to show you how to turn that into a shirt. Now, a real quick disclaimer, I actually don't know how to make a shirt, really. I took like one sewing class when I was in high school. It was like a home economics course, and like half the year they did a fashion course. They showed me how to like sew up a bag and stuff. It was really cool, but they didn't show me how to make a t-shirt. I do understand though that like a lot of those things come from like making patterns, and so something I already did is I took one of my t-shirts that I like the fit of, and I cut it all up along all the seams. Now, I'd done this once before, and if you just cut along the seams and make a pattern that's like that big, you won't have any extra room to like actually sew the seams together so they don't show. So I also like left a little bit of room on each side where I knew I was going to be sewing, so that I could like sew those edges together, and then hopefully when they're all together, it'll be the same size the shirt was before. So like I said, the first thing I did is I took a shirt that I liked the fit of that was going to be the same size as the shirt I wanted to make. For me, it was just like a medium polo shirt that I found. And then from each of those pieces that I cut up, I laid them down on some vinyl and then cut the vinyl just a little bit bigger than they were, or at least on all the edges that they were going to have to be sewn. And you want to make sure here that you leave some extra space on like the hem, just like you would have at the end of your shirt here, so you can sew that up so you don't just have like loose fabric, you know, all doing its shit, getting whack and shit. So these are some of the patterns I made. This is for the sleeve. I made another one for the other sleeve, but like really you only need one because they go be the same, I think. And then I have one for this one is the back. And you can tell just because the scoop in the neck isn't as drastic. And then this is the front here. And that's the front because like it has a nice scoop you can fit your head through. And even on these collar parts here, I made sure to leave some extra room so the hole that you're seeing right now isn't as big as the actual neck hole is going to be on the shirt, because I don't think I can fit my neck through this as it is. So once I had all my patterns cut out, I then went ahead and cut those same patterns, just the same size and everything, out of actual fabric. And I picked this really nice like cream colored fabric with some red flowers on it. They look kind of like poppies or something like that. And so I'm going to be making my t-shirt all out of the same material. So after you have all your pieces cut out, you're going to want to start stitching them together. And this is the complicated part, because you want to make sure that your whole garment, you're actually going to sew it inside out. And that sounds a little bit weird, but it's just so that when you actually are done with it, you're going to turn it around then, and none of those seams are going to show. So it's going to look way more professional, not like you have a bunch of seams like I normally do with my dental floss and shit on the custom pieces I make. It's going to look like something you actually buy at the store. But here's the first problem I ran into. Everything was going real good until I started to try to pin this second sleeve on, or the first sleeve on. And I realized that the shape that I had made the sleeves curve didn't exactly fit the curve of the front and the back when they were put together. So I have to do a little bit of reworking, and I think instead of using the pattern that I had for the sleeve, I might just cut out a whole new sleeve that actually like fits the shape of this hole in between here where the sleeve's gonna actually go, so that it fits in with everything that I've already worked. Since the front and back are looking pretty nice, I mean shit, I could just leave these like that and we'd have a good little tank top going, but it's not what I'm making. I'm making a t-shirt today.
Alright, cool. This is looking way better now. You can tell there's still a little bit of fabric. Like I didn't go all the way with the sleeve down to here, just because I was a little bit short. I was a little bit short on this side too. But I'm hoping that when I put the two sides together, I'll be able to minimize that so I can still use the sleeve. We will see. But what really made all the difference is I started pinning from the center here. So from this seam that I was using, it's like the top collar seam, I started pinning the sleeve from there instead of the way I was doing it before, where I started pinning the sleeve from the corner. And so that made all the difference. And so I went ahead and just pinned the hem here as well, so I could sew them all up at once. Because there's no reason like going back down to pin it after you already at the sewing machine. And then I'll work on the other sleeve after.
And we're back at the sewing machine. Time to see how this works out. I'm gonna hit the hem first, and then I'm gonna go around and sew the whole rest of it. Leave this bitch on while I sew. Don't worry, I'll edit it out so y'all don't have to see all of this. It's gonna be boring as a motherfucker. Oh yeah, and I don't know which seam you're like really supposed to use. I like this zigzag one though. I feel really safe and secure with it. They have all sorts of ones though, dude. Like, they really be doing the most. Shout out brother sewing machines. Sometimes the embroidery machine gets a little bit whack, but like I don't expect anything too much from anything but like a big industrial one, so you holding it down, brother. I fucks with you. Oh, and a real quick tip for anyone who's like just sewing for the first time, whenever you're using a machine, when you start on a stitch, make sure and like back sew. I think it's called like back sewing. You just like sew the opposite direction to like end that stitch. That way like the thread doesn't come out, and it'll just save you so much time. It makes your garments a lot sturdier. And then when you're done back sewing, just sew right back over it like you were just starting again fresh. And that way you can go the whole, and that time you can go the whole way through. Well, that fucking sucks. I just ran into one of the pins that was holding it in place. I ran into that with a fucking needle like a dumbass, and it just broke the needle. So I gotta replace my needle real quick. Alright guys, back at it. Got our needle replaced, and we're not gonna run over the pin this time. So the same way that you backstitched at the very beginning when you started off your seam, or the hem in this case, you're going to want to backstitch when you get to the end of it. So I'm right at the end of where I'm sewing on this hem, and I'm going to go back in the opposite direction a little bit, and then come back and finish it out one last time. It seems a little bit superfluous, but trust me, it's going to make your seam so much better, and your shit won't fall apart, which is always a plus in my book. Alright guys, so it looks like I didn't have to cut out a new sleeve, which is super awesome because it means that I get to save some of that fabric to use for something else. But since it's pretty much the same process on both sleeves, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one and then get back to you right after. Hell yeah guys! So I just finished up sewing the other sleeve on. You look a hella tight. Got them both going now. It's starting to actually look like a t-shirt. So you can see it here. Yeah. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and sew the bottom hem. I already pinned it up, so I can just go get right to sewing now. And then after I do that, I'm going to work on the collar a little bit. because I realized like that would actually probably have been best if I did before I sewed the shoulders up, just because it'd be easier to sew that hem. But I already sewed the shoulders together, so I'm just gonna have to finagle it a little bit underneath the machine. Really, it's just a matter of like comfortability when you're sewing, because like now that these are all like together, for me to just sew this part, I'm gonna have to like wiggle it around, and I'll have a bunch of fabric on both sides, which I wouldn't have to deal with if I had just done that first. But those are some of the things you learn, guys. Like I said, this is my first time ever making a shirt from scratch, and it's fucking fantastic. As I was sewing or pinning this bottom hem, and I saw how much this like already looked like a t-shirt, it was a really surreal moment for me, because there was a long time where like I had wanted to make my own shirts and do stuff like that, but I just didn't think I could. I didn't think I knew how to do it, or I thought if I did it, it was gonna look like shit. But this it's coming out alright, but don't let me jinx it. Alright, let's get sewing this hem.
Cool, so I finished up sewing the hems at the bottom, and now I'm going to work on the collar. And as you can see, I cut a couple slits in the collar just so that I could fold it down to make a new hem here, because I want to make sure that you don't get all this fraying stuff up around the neck. Plus, I already compensated for this when I cut the patterns, so if I wouldn't do this, then I don't think anyone's head would be able to fit through the shirt. Actually, come to think of it, I might have to recut this whole neck, just because this fabric doesn't really stretch at all, and so I think if I leave it this size, it won't really like fit over people's head. So let me go ahead and cut out this hole on the top a little bit bigger, and then we'll try to hem that instead of this. Alright, so I had to cut the hole for the head to go through a little bit bigger, and then I went ahead and I cut slits in each of these, and I made sure and pinned them too. And then when I did that, I also pulled these like extra far over so you couldn't see like the edges of the slits from the other side, because I don't think you want to see that around your collar piece either.
Okay, so now that I got the collar all chopped up and pinned in place, it's time to hem this bitch. I didn't have enough needles to go around and get each one of these slits, so I'm gonna have to do it like part way, and then stick these ones while it's still like underneath the sewing machine. Like I said, I think if I do this again, I'm gonna sew up the collar before I put the shoulders together, and just like do the collar hem. But these are the things you learn when you practice. That's what this is. I don't think it'll be too bad. Yeah, this is working out pretty nicely actually. And like I said before, I've been using the same stitch for literally everything, whether it be a hem or a seam. And I don't think that's right, but we'll figure it out. I'll do some research after this, but this is just to show you what I can do without doing any research. Consider it me like bragging in a way. Cool. Let me take out these pins and see how it looks. Sweet. So I finished up hemming the collar. You can take a look at that. It's looking way crisper and cleaner now. And it's also big enough that I think someone could fit their head through. So now, as you can see, everything's almost done. It's just a little bit more that I gotta do. Right now it's kind of looking like I don't know what, but yeah, no, I need to sew the sides up. So to do that, like with everything else, I'm gonna make sure that it's turned inside out, because if it's not, then the seams are gonna look fucking atrocious on the end product. So I gotta sew these sides up, and then the bottoms of the sleeves. I'm gonna do the sleeves first, and then once I get those all lined up and make sure that they're like the right length and shit, I'll go about figuring the sides out. Okay. Alright, so we at the part with the seam now. And really here, I'm just gonna have to be careful, because in order for this to fit right, the two pieces of fabric to fit together, it's like gotta be curved. So I can't have it too flat. But I'm gonna make sure and start so that the sleeve is actually on the top part, because if I did it the other way, I wouldn't be able to see where the sleeve was to make sure I'm lining it up correctly. Alright, so I finished sewing up both of the sleeves and sides. And now it looks like just about everything is done. I'm gonna add a few like flourishes, like I'm gonna put a stamp on the back here with my logo on. It was designed by the wonderful 217 at 217art.com. But yeah, no, check this out. Finally get the reveal. Because this isn't stretchy at all, these are kind of going to look a little bit like scrubs. But it's all cool. And voila. There you have it. Oliver Manifest first ever motherfucking shirt. Hell yeah.